Before we start today, there's something you need to do. There's a conference coming up March 30th to April 2nd, and it's being run by the CHFA, the Canadian Health Food Association. If you're not a member, you should probably go and figure out how to be a member. If you are a member and you haven't signed up to attend the show yet, you should definitely do that. CHFA hosts CHFA Now. It's Canada's largest conference and trade show dedicated to all things natural, organic, and wellness. The show's in Vancouver. There'll be lots of retailers there. If you're a retailer and you're not there yet, you have another day left to get signed up for a VIP package that's filled with perks. If you're a brand, you should definitely sign up. This will be a great place to find new partners and to be able to get some deals done. Head to chfanow.ca/Vancouver to find out more.
Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Benucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, and you?
I'm doing okay.
Need to turn on a camera. There I am.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I have the camera on. Hold on. I am good.
Excellent. Long time no see.
Right?
I know. I feel like this is deja vu.
Yeah, it was a little practice session we had.
I know.
Exactly.
I know. I love it. How are you?
I am doing good.
Excellent.
It's not cold outside. It's a new day.
Yeah.
So quiet in the office. So
yeah.
It's kind of nice though, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to walk into.
Not
It's
absolute chaos.
it's a nice way to start the morning, right? Is to just kind of like nobody get in my face yet. Nobody, and then as much as like both of us love people, I feel like Kenny and I, but there are moments where you're just like, it's too early to say good morning. It's too early to do anything. Just go to your desk. Go to your desk.
Let's all ease into the day together, shall we?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's
sometimes what it is. You just want to kind of just float into it. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Anything new and exciting with you guys?
What's new? So we've kind of I don't know what's new. So we are in the midst of like getting retailers on. You're
nice.
You're one of them. We talked to a wonderful lady who has more energy than the two of us combined yesterday.
Seriously. Oh my God.
Marcia Hebert. And she runs a gonna get it wrong, a gluten-free store. Is that right, Kenny?
Yeah,
she runs a gluten-free store in Calgary.
I have not been there. It's up in the district or whatever.
Yeah.
So just opened last month.
Yeah, opened last month. So we talked to her and she was she was a lot of energy. She's like, we loved her. Like we loved the energy, but it was like thank God, right? Like because had we, because for listeners, like we're recording this at like 10 a.m. my time and 7 a.m. Kenny's time and 8 a.m. Beth's time.
Yeah.
If we got Marcia this time, it would be.
I needed to work into the morning.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. She was awesome though. Like she was really awesome, full of energy. Like holy moly.
Yeah, and she's got a vision that she clearly knows what she wants and how to get there. So she's just, doesn't quite know how. She's like, all the pieces are not clear, but she's definitely working her way there. And
she tries.
Nobody's getting in her way, right? Like, I think is really cool. Yeah.
Does she manufacture as well? Like, she doesn't create anything?
No.
There's a huge hole in the market for really good baked goods in particular
Yeah.
that are local and gluten-free. Yeah.
The problem with a lot of
Yeah.
it's one of the things I think we found out pandemic time is that because we talk to BC food and production people all the time. We don't have a lot of production of anything in this country. We really don't.
Yeah.
We don't do enough of anything.
No.
And these specific categories, which we could do, and I don't know what it is. It's because they're tough to do, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, I watch like government support. Money gets dropped in buckets that I don't quite understand. And then you see stuff like this and you think, well, that's a bucket it should go into.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know
That's
what I
a really
mean?
good
Like,
point. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of
'Cause that's
weird, right?
exactly, we talk about it all the time. And,
Yeah, I just don't
community.
understand it. I mean, if you're going to protect anything, protect your food chain.
Yeah.
Like, and do stuff like that, like produce more at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I think isn't that I mean, there's no excuse for it because we should be watching for it, but there's an economic scale thing, right? As
That's all
you
that it is.
That's
Yeah.
all
yeah,
it
you
is.
start down this path and you kind of go, we have good intentions, and then you realize, hey, I can make this cheaper if I compromise on a handful of things. And then next thing you know, you've compromised on a whole bunch of things, and it's kind of like boiling water, right? Like you just, like cooking that, you're getting cooked in the fish in the pot, right?
Yep.
You just don't know until you're there that I have a great bottom line, but I don't have the product I started with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can finally start to make money on this thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then the cities we live in, like to produce in this city is near impossible. Like Vancouver is not. It's hard to do anything in this city. The rents are ridiculous.
I think it's hard to make a lot of money. Like, I think it's not.
It's just hard to make money sometimes.
Money on this, but
Yeah.
it's hard to make a lot.
It's hard to make a lot of money. It's hard to make it enough to.
Yeah.
Why would you do this?
Yeah.
You could put money in the bank and make more, which is really sad to say because that's really near impossible to do on anything else. But it's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
I hope they figure it out. I hope we start to smarten up with it and spend a little bit more time trying to do more at home. I know we've talked about this as Canadians for a million years.
I think this is something that we do, right? Is if we keep talking about it like this.
I hope so.
Because like even on this podcast, right? Like without kind of being like super excited about our audience, but we do have a lot of folks who are out there with amazing ideas that are trying to make things go, right? So I think that's that if you're an entrepreneur and you're banging at this, is we need that. This is a clear out and out need, right? Like it's something we need in our country, in our provinces. And so if you're thinking about inventing,
well, Beth's a retailer. She's telling you, like in the stores that she runs, there's a need.
Well, they don't know yet because we haven't
know that.
Introduced Beth.
You're right. But like we're telling you that there's needs for this, but we also have to have a retail environment that's also helpful and receptive and trying to help as well. Beth, you'll tell us. You know what retail's like.
Exactly.
But we also, like, I think we're kind of on a bad path right now, but we're also on a good path because probably the first time in a long time, we actually have normal Canadians asking about the cost of groceries, right?
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
You have politicians who are trying to understand groceries right?
Yeah.
Like some better understanding
we're talking
than others,
about it.
but we're talking about it and we're thinking about it, right? Like this is a good thing, I think.
Well, I think so too.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. Yeah.
We should do an intro so people kind of know who we're talking to, right?
Are we on the podcast already?
We are.
Oh we don't waste any time.
And going. We don't.
We're in deep, baby. We're in deep.
Yeah. So we have Beth Potter on. She's the marketing manager at Community Natural Foods, and so she represents, or she works at a retailer, and they are this wonderful set of stores. Like I've been to one. That's all I can say. But I don't know if Kenny, you have more to add.
I've been to a store and I've been to the head office.
Okay.
Right, but I'm nearly in Calgary, right? I mean, I'm in Vancouver. We barely leave our city.
We're neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah, we're neighbors, but we'll never see each other.
I
few
think the
mountains in
other
between.
I think the other
Yeah.
thing is, we met Beth through CHFA,
Right.
because the three of us share some common loves, right? Like one is we're all crazy enough to stay in retail and be in it a long time. And I think the other thing is all three of us were talking about, how do we help, retail, right? Particularly independent small retail.
Yeah.
We view these as kind of pieces of the Canadian landscape that should be there, and they're in a little bit of trouble. So we're trying to make sure that we give it voice, right? So I think that's the other way. And then honestly, we met Beth. And we spent like this wonderful hour together going, damn it, we should have just hit record. That was a wonderful
It's a good podcast that never
so
got
we asked her to
recorded.
come back because we wanted to do it again. So welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I've spent my whole career in this industry, and yeah, feel very protective of it, I think, and also just want to see it thrive for the next generation. And yeah, so I was introduced to you guys as, with a desire to sort of pull together health food retailers, I think, to talk more as a group. I always say that we need health food retailers, like health food stores, and as if there's less and less of them, I feel like society in general will not think that they're important. So we need all of us together. And so how do we start to have those conversations so that we can all thrive? So
okay, so
That's
what
good.
we
It's
want to
needed.
do is we'd love to hear a bit of your background, like how you got to where you were, why you stay in this crazy retail game. It does take, I think we all acknowledge it takes some craziness, right? Because there are lots of moments that we all go, this is insanity. Like there must be a calmer way to live your life, right? But I don't think anyone who's kind of in CPG or retail, you don't really trade it because we love it, right? So anyway, we'd love to hear your story. I will shut up now, and the next kind of 45 minutes is yours.
oh, that's a lot of pressure.
No pressure. No
No
pressure.
My story. I started at a Live magazine, which was a amazing introduction to the industry. It was, yeah, it was a long time ago now. But yeah, got in like you, I know you guys interviewed Lorna Vanderhaeg, so
Yeah.
she would have worked there, doing a different magazine. It was just an opportunity for a deep dive. I kind of was the editorial assistant, so I proofed everything. So a great way to learn really fast. Just the kind of health side of things, but also just got introduced to everybody. So the Dean Parks of the world really early on, and Udo, Lorna. So kind of those, the original Joes, I guess, if you could call it that. So yeah, really. And such, I think I fell in love with the industry at that time because it was always so relational. So it was like you were introduced to everybody else, and it just became this community of people that I think had, this desire, like strong desire to really like change the world, like get people really understanding that, good food, good water, good air, exercise, that kind of thing were just essential to us all thriving as a society. So, yeah, you don't really, I think once you enter this industry, it's pretty hard to leave.
It does. It goes sort of, the claws kind of just get into you, right? And it doesn't let you. It doesn't let you leave, and quite frankly, I don't think we really want to leave.
No. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
It's
some
weird.
days I mean, you're always curious, right? Like what's on the other side, but yeah, I have yet to wander there. So anyway, then I had a journalism degree, and I kept seeing press releases come through the fax machine. So that was when it was. And so I was curious about the PR side. So moved over and worked at a PR firm in Vancouver, and they were starting to do some health stuff. And so my first, I think, 2 pitches that I sent out to, radio stations across the country were like Bowel Buddy cookies.
I remember
for
those.
wafers
I remember those.
and green
Wait, what?
Canute.
Bowel
Yeah.
buddy.
All buddies. I listed them. I
Oh.
remember listening to those from Abundance, I think.
Right.
Abundance
So
Naturals.
yeah. So I feel like, I was
Awesome.
like, if I can spin this into a story that can be radio, then I have found my home. So
Yeah. They were high fiber cookie fill. So
it was eat your fiber, really.
yeah, it was,
Listen,
you know, for
I'm appreciative because I spent my life on the other side, like on the paper, and I worked at Kimberly Clark and places like that. So I, pun intended, I was receptive to what you guys were doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, geez. You said that, as soon as you said that, I got a flashback. I thought, oh my God, I remember those.
Right. I know.
I remember being pitched and I thought, you know, as stupid as this sounds, this is actually not, this is a really good idea. It's better than Metamucil. It's better than that product.
Exactly.
This is actually not the worst thing in the world. They eat it.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. So
That's so funny.
yeah, it was a good entry in. But yeah, then worked lots with, so then Dean Parks came along and was like, you need to keep doing this. And so he was at Purity Life, how can we kind of support you to get going? And so had the opportunity to travel. So saw health food stores across the country and lots of people writing books. That was kind of the thing, right? There's these celebrities in the industry and they helped build it. And then came across Sam Gracie, which I think was probably the most transformative maybe experience for me, just working with that company. And Sam just literally was one of the hardest working people I've ever met.
I like Sam. He's interesting.
Yeah. And he's very interesting, which is important in a personality, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Wait, because I don't know him, and you're both making that face. Is there something you can say on a podcast that?
Well, I wouldn't say anything bad about Sam.
No,
and I don't think anybody else probably
Greens
would.
Plus, yeah. And then through Stuart Brown and him, they really, just invested, I think, in educating like Canadians on the basics, right? Like the first kind of stuff we did with Sam was like drink water. And so that's why I always look at the industry today. I'm like, look how far we've come.
Yeah. Well, think about when Sam came out too, like, you know, drink water, nobody was really doing. I mean, we've been talking, you know, that's a human vegetables. And when he came out with Greens Plus with Genuine Health, you're thinking, okay. And then you watch that. I remember the first time you thinking, like, I'm gonna drink that sludge. Like, you know what I mean? That's not really the most attractive looking thing when you're first looking at it. Yeah. And then once you start, you're thinking, this actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like back in the day before there was like flavoring or stevia added, like you just drank the straight drink and people felt better. Like I always 100%. Say, they had anyway, I always use him as the kind of gold star. Lorna too. I mean, there's so many of them actually that just literally went. And I think that's the secret to health food stores today. Still, it's just like connecting with people one-on-one, like, and just with the amount of energy, grit, and determination that those guys had. Don't think it's changed that much. I just don't know that there's as many people that can have the stamina that those guys had.
I don't know if it's possible anymore. I think the world's even changed that much. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Can you do another Lorna or another Sam or, you know, I can think of so many people that group. Like, I don't know if that group's replicated.
Yeah, I don't know
if it was timing, the size of the industry, maybe it was everything. It's like there's so many different things. It's just everything.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I look at the guys at Midday Squares and they seem to have enough energy for
oh my. Yes.
Enough energy for the three of us again, another group, right?
That is true.
Yeah. So, but I think it's more than that. I think like I remember traveling with Sam and him remembering people's names.
Yeah.
Like, and that sounds like such a basic thing, right? But I still think that's like essential to retail. Like
that's a talent. It's a talent, right? Like the number of people that you realize, like when you get good at it, right? Because you got to like for the rest of us that are untalented at it, you got to work at it, right? And then you realize how many like once I started doing it, you realize how many blank faces look back at you. And you
Way
realize
easier said
this
than
is
done.
really
Yeah.
hard, right? Yeah, this is
Right.
actually really hard. Yeah, it's a skill.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I know like at our stores, like that's the gift of our staff for sure, is they
Mm.
have that they make connections with customers one on one. And that's like if we post about one of our staff members on social, like with some story about them, like the comments that come after, and it's like, okay, this is still totally happening. It's not someone traveling across the country, but I really think it's happening in health food stores all the time, just with the staff. And we have like amazing customers that call into our customer care department and email us to tell us, I got this like the best customer service today from, you know, one of our staff. And yeah, and I probably see those on a weekly basis. Like
That's
that someone
Amazing.
is,
awesome.
first of all, a customer that actually takes the
I take
time
the
to call
time
or write in.
for positive too, because
Uh,
typically negative is easy to do, it seems.
yeah,
Positive
yeah,
seems a little harder to do these days, apparently.
yeah, yeah. But I think it is like
That's
testament
awesome.
to the type of staff I think that want to work in a health food store, and also what is essential to us surviving, maybe even thriving.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm, mhm.
yeah,
Wow.
it is. It's yeah, such an amazing part of who we are. But
But when you're with Sam and all these folks, you're writing and you're more on the journalistic side. Is that true?
that
Or are
was
you
that was the quite a while ago now. So I did PR up until about 7 years ago, and then now I do full-time kind of marketing for a community.
right?
Yeah, and then I write for Bruce Cole, a column on in his magazine, the Canadian Natural Health Retailer. So you guys should have him on your podcast. He could tell you about every store across Canada.
Oh, we could do that. We love the story, so we're all over that.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's fantastic, and yeah, I just write a little column, just kind of. It started off as more of like a marketing column. Now they want it more in the trend space, but
Mhm.
yeah, just how do stores kind of stay on top of what's trending, and then how to kind of implement it at store level. But and my most recent one is on community, not our store. I just think that that's what health food stores are. Uh, this kind of I think that people call it like a third space, but that idea of it's like a almost like a home away from home. And um, community does we kind of do this like it's top of mind kind of awareness score on an annual basis, or we kind of get that reading, I guess, for the city, mostly to, I would say, to justify an advertising spend. But yeah, that kind of showed up this year as like as people were talking about community, that they kind of call it their place, which I thought was really awesome and interesting. It's just a place that, it's like Cheers where everybody knows your name or whatever that.
Yeah.
Nice feeling though, today's
Yeah.
world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think, and I found it really fascinating coming out of COVID that is what showed up. And I think maybe that's kind of some of what the pandemic taught us, right? Was that there's certain places in our life that are actually important to us, and we want to, make sure that either people know about it and protect them a little bit. So it felt encouraging anyway.
Yeah, I was surprised at that. Like I think I live in a slightly different place than the two of you. Like in Toronto, we're generally uncaring about retailers, right? We kind of like buy stuff where we want it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're a cold and heartless bunch. And what we started to see in the pandemic was people rallying around local restaurants, local, there's stories like, so there's an area in Toronto called Bayview Village, which is, kind of a little bit like East Van Kenny, right?
Mhm.
Like they're these tiny little pockets. And they had a couple of restaurants where they were starting to, get into trouble. And so people that I know live in the neighborhood, started to buy their groceries from these restaurants, right? Because they realize if I can lend myself to them, I'm going to pay roughly the same price for groceries, so I'm not going to pay more or less. But if I can lend my power to them, they buy it a little bit. They buy a little bit cheaper. It helps them kind of move through product a little bit faster, keeps them from writing things off. It keeps them in business, right? And there are a bunch of these kind of like local stories that you hear where they just help restaurants get through it, right? Like, one he said to the owner, he said, stop making the full meal. Just make me the marinara sauce because I can't make that at home, right? So
Right.
what do you want to charge
Awesome.
me for
Yeah.
that, right? Like, because if I'm going to go buy a can of ragu or whatever it is at the grocery store, what will you charge me for marinara? I'll buy it from you. You'll make some money off that, keep you in business. Like all these things that,
I love that though.
you know what I mean? Like in our
Yeah.
city, you kind of go, no, like in the old days, it just go, oh, they're out of business. I'll go there, right? Like there's another
Yeah.
4 stores or 4 restaurants I can go to, but no, right? Like people actually rallying around favorite stores. It's kind of cool. Like it's not something I thought we would ever do in the city.
Yeah. It makes
Yeah.
retail feel a lot more relational. Well, and it is
Yeah.
I just think it's 100% relational. But
Yeah.
the other thing that I think taking out of that well, I feel like community, we talk about it a lot in struggle, is just remaining that like nimble. So that idea of like, this isn't working, let's just try this thing over here, which actually started
Mhm.
happening right during COVID with so many companies. And it's like, how do you maintain that, that nimble, I keep calling it nimbleness, but like stop fearing just trying stuff and just
Yeah.
fail really fast if you're gonna fail at it and move on to the next thing. But yeah.
Are you finding though that, because you're in the industry, you guys are obviously doing that. You guys do move and try to bob and weave as best you can. I mean, even with it's 3 stores right now, not 4 yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even at
But
3 stores, it doesn't sound
yeah.
like a lot, but 3 stores, that it's hard enough to manage one store.
Yeah.
Like when you get to 3, I mean, your nimbleness as you grow becomes a little more problematic. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to, but it does because it just gets bogged down into
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So how are
Yeah. I
you?
think that's where we're at, to be honest. Yeah. Just, I think in that space that we know that we should still be able to be super nimble, but yeah, we have processes and
You get
policies and
bureaucracy in a
procedures
sense,
and
right? And for the right
Mhm.
reasons. Like
yeah.
it's not done with malintent. It just
Yeah.
sometimes it just puts handcuffs and brakes on things that shouldn't
Yeah.
be. So how it's even that. Like how do you get around that?
Yeah. It's like figuring, I think, where to do it, right? Like we have cafes in our 2 stores, and we used to have like a hot bar and a salad bar, and then we went through a renovation of our downtown store during COVID, and really at the beginning of COVID, and we're like, oh, I don't know if like anyone is ever gonna use a smorgasbord like anymore, right? Like that just felt like the furthest thing from possibility coming out of COVID, and not that much ended up changing, but we pulled away from that and changed out. We had a big cafe at the front, and that's where we held events, but people like again hung out there. And when we renovated, we put in a kiosk to order from and just a little cafe on the side.
And we'll be right back.
How you doing
What's up,
today,
Kenny?
Phil?
I'm good, Kenny.
You know what, Phil? You know what I
Yeah?
learned today?
What?
I no longer say OMG in the afternoon or
Why
in
do
the
you?
early evenings. You know why, Phil?
Why is that,
Because I know
Kenny?
you're
Why?
dying to know why. Ask me why,
Yes.
Phil.
Why, Kenny? Why do
Because
you no
now
longer
I say
say
OGB.
OGB?
OGB. Do you want to know what that means,
OGB.
Phil?
What does that mean, Kenny?
Old growth beverages.
Old
I
growth
have
beverages.
found, mostly because I'm a part owner, but I have still found it in the house. I have never drank chai. I'm dead serious. This is the honest to goodness truth. No more fooling around on this because we're going to post this anyway, but no more fooling around.
Okay.
Honestly, I've never drank chai ever. And I've been drinking a cup of chai a day. I love this stuff. I love the cinnamon. I love the ginger. I love the pepper kick in the background. I love it with a little bit of oat milk. I love it with a little almond milk. I love it with a little bit of dairy. But I have been drinking this stuff literally every single day for the last
OGB,
couple
Kenny.
weeks.
OGB.
OGB, Phil. OGB.
Listen, So do you spend all that time brewing a nice cup of chai? Because a nice cup of chai takes a couple hours to make.
Ma Phil, no. Now I'm going to share even something more better for you. All the recipes that we have are, I don't like the word necessarily instant, but I'm going to say instant. They're highly dissolvable. All you have to do, add boiling water, whether it's the chai, the London fog, or the matcha. And we have a couple new flavors coming next couple weeks, but we'll talk about those later. All you have to do is hot water, stir. And literally you get to drink and consume all the nutrients of the tea leaf. You ingest all the awesome spices. Honestly, fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. OGB, Phil.
OGB.
Not OMG anymore, Phil.
OGB, Kenny. I love it.
And people were like, like I've lost my connection to another person and that space to hang out, right? And also I could come in, get a hot meal really quickly and pick what I wanted in my salad. Now I feel like I'm ordering, like I'm, ordering in a restaurant. And so it was, and so it's like, how do we become nimble and just try stuff? And that, like something like a cafe, it should be easy to just try stuff, right? And but it is hard. I think it takes that extra effort. Maybe at the end of this conversation, it's going to be all those like crazy people that kind of got our industry going and just all that energy and like nonstop effort. That is the takeaway. Like I always call it grit. I feel like our industry was built on grit. There's tons of grit in our industry, but we can't forget about it. And I think coming out of COVID, there's people were tired. Like retailers, our staff are tired still. Yeah. Like I think in general, people are just feeling still tired. And so, it's like how do we get the grit?
Well, I think nobody got a lot of people got a break during COVID. It's going to sound terrible because COVID was not fun, obviously, but you got a lot of people ended up being able to stay home. Lifestyles change, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But for retail, it actually got worse in some ways in that you had to be actually even at the store more. And, we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Like you don't know where this is going. You don't know what this is doing. You're kind of front line without food. It's a little tough to do much in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like grocery or health food stores had an option to close, and probably health food stores even a little bit more in that a traditional grocery, you go in and buy your goods. You never expect to get help anyway. But if you were worried about the true health aspects of it or how to stay healthier, where are you going to go?
Well, yeah. And like I said, I feel like our industry is built on like relationships, like community, which I really don't mean it as our brand name. I literally just think it is a space for people to get together. We, like Community Natural Foods was really built on education. And I think long before I was at Community, just did an amazing job of it, right? Like just lots of educational opportunities. And, to push that all online was great. We did it. And now we have really great regular online events that there's no way we could get rid of. Like the attendance is great. People are used to it, right? They want to learn when they want. Podcasts, I'm sure. You guys have too, right?
Yeah. It opens up a space where you can do it anytime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was like bringing back those in-person pieces. So we started bringing back events, maybe in a smaller setting, but just so people could really just like do stuff together and talk.
Do people really want it still? Are they still craving it?
Really,
like, do you really feel that?
They absolutely. So we do both. And I would say both do well now. Like we'll have, we call them more like how-tos in person for the most part, because, then it's like hands-on. People are learning just how to do stuff, which I also think that also grew during COVID, like this desire to know how to do things for yourself so you weren't so reliant on other people. I think that makers kind of movement is really hot now. And then webinars are still doing really well. We just did this this it was called a 21-day kick sugar program with a practitioner. She actually moved to Montreal, but could do it for us because the joy of technology now. We had 7,000 people sign up to be part
What?
of the program.
Holy shit! Seriously,
Yeah.
that's a small town.
7,000 people.
Isn't that
Wow.
insane? I mean, hey, just
That's
under
craziness.
200 finished it, but
Doesn't matter
still,
though. I mean, there's
like,
again, at least it's showing that there is interest out there,
yeah,
right? I think
yeah,
that's the sad part, Beth. Sometimes I think like if because you've been around long enough and you've seen it too. Like I remember walking even Expo in the early 2000s, or going to CHFA like when it wasn't the size it was now.
yeah,
And this industry has always been really good at pushing forward and trying new things, but it was also really good at pissing and moaning and worrying about shit. And you always wanted to tell everybody, like, guys, that's important, and you need to know the negatives, because to see a negative you can bounce
yeah,
over it. You don't want to bump into it. It'd be nice to see it before it happens. But we have a lot to offer, right? There's a lot
yeah,
of good in here. Like,
Yeah.
let's focus on the stuff we can do well,
yeah,
that the other
yeah,
guys can't do at all. Never
yeah,
mind well at all.
exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think, I mean, there's real challenges for health food stores. I don't think that we can sugarcoat that
No,
in
you can't
any
gloss
way.
Mm-mm.
over
And
it.
Mm-mm.
yeah, and I think understanding staffing models,
Yeah.
in this state are, that's just all stuff that we need to figure out. And actually, that was kind of what tweaked the desire to get health food retailers together as more of a collective was just I was in a meeting and uh like part of a retail group for the CHFA, and it was like, oh, coming out of COVID, these health food retailers are still asking us for like education and like having people come, like education for staff and also consumers and demos. And at what point do we kind of pull back on that? Because, hey, the sales in health food are not growing at the rate that they're growing in mass for us. And a very honest conversation, and appreciate it. And it was just like, wow, that's like the lifeblood of a health food store, like educating staff and educating consumers. And that would be a shame for both for health food stores, but I also really think that in the vendor or on the product side, there's still something that there's still like a validation that comes with a product, even if it's in mass, if it shows up in a health food store as well. And
Yeah.
that you're educating the staff who are educating your consumers one by one
Right.
on why they buy your product. And for us, yeah, they'll buy it from us once, twice, when it's convenient for them. And we know they're going to buy it, at a grocery store in the meantime, right? Because it makes sense. It's on your route or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like we all are
Yeah.
busy. But yeah, it was just a wake up call for me that, wow, the industry's changed that much that there's even this thought that maybe this isn't relevant or this just isn't a good use of marketing dollars anymore. So
I think the sad part though, Beth, is, and it's probably, it happens in the States a little bit too, but probably in our country more so than others, is we don't have a lot of competition. We don't, like, in the mass level. So if you're a vendor on and you're in mass, it's difficult because the financial requirements are huge. The pressure to perform is obviously there. So I think what what a lot of them think is that, as good as that might be, I'm just getting squeezed to death by these other people.
yeah,
And if 85% of the population is shopping in those stores, and I'm getting squeezed anyway, I don't have much left. And what little I have left, they seem to either pocket because they're trying to survive, or they're
yeah,
pumping it back into mass. And I think we've sort of lost that part of how does it come back into community, like our community, as well as community, the entity community,
yeah, yeah,
natural. How do we make it compelling? Like, as retailers, because I'm still a retailer too, like, how to make it compelling for brands to say, no, we don't mind allocating some funds to
yeah,
you guys because we see the value. Because I don't think they don't see it. I
No,
think
no,
they're
I
just
don't
getting
either.
squeezed to death.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. And I think it's just figuring out like where is the money's, where are the dollars best spent? Is it in, in deals? Is it in education? Is it in, marketing support? Is it, like we have some vendors that we've done great kind of marketing stuff with, like out of the box, maybe a little bit. Like we're doing, a radio campaign with Floridix right now, where it really is like educational. And then, at the end of it, it just says it's available at Community Natural Foods, and
Mm-hmm.
share the cost of that. We're like, let's share it, and then, let's measure it. We'll all do everything I can to promote your product in store. Like it will be very clear to consumers,
Right.
as soon as they walk in the door, that we're doing something with you. But those partnerships, I think, and like I said, figuring out where to best spend the dollars and be able to measure it. Like say, what's the goal for, in sales? And I know for us, when we let our staff know that, they're all over it. So they love the fact that, there's a vendor that is supporting Community Natural Foods. They'll do everything they can to move that product off the shelf. So
I think I'm going to take a bit of the brand view, right? You're both retailers, and my background is much stronger on the brand side. But I think where there's some serious value that I think brands they know it, but they don't. They kind of fail to capitalize. I think when you go, your health food stores is where you find um your fast adopter, right? You these are the
yeah,
people that are looking
Yeah.
for a problem. They have a problem, they're looking for a solution. They come to the health store because that's where they get answers. And I think the first part of every marketing campaign needs to be about knowing what the answers are. So I feel like that's where brands, if you're getting squeezed to death, the beginning is still really good in the middle, right? Is if you're getting squeezed to death by the mass, you can go to the big guy and you can sell stuff, but you don't have any answers. You're not connected to a consumer. You have no idea, is it just because it happened to be in the right place on shelves that it got sold, or is it because somebody else had one in their basket and that's why they bought it? Or
right.
like you really don't have a ton of answers. You get to health stores because health stores give you the answers, right? Like I've never, like all the brands I've worked on, if they're in health food stores, that's where I figure out, like, you spend a day in a bunch of health food stores, what is wrong with your product, because health food people will tell you that first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty quickly too.
And then, yeah, pretty quickly, right? And then they'll tell you how to fix it. And then you find out like what they're selling it on, right? Like, and I feel like that's the part that brands forget, right? Because they go, I'm getting squeezed to death by a big guy, I'm going to pull back. No,
Yeah.
what you need to do is lean into the support, because that's where you get your answers from. So if a big guy's squeezing you, your answers lie in the health food stores. They're the ones that are going to tell you, here's how you crank up marketing everywhere else, right? These are the kind of things you need to amplify, right? Like I think that's the part that's always missing in this equation.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's a good point.
And as there's less and less sales people traveling around to stores, I think
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes that can, get lost. I know, like when we do research, like it's someone tells you to go to Community Natural Foods, whether it's your practitioner or your friend or your mother or your sister, or whoever it is, right? Like that's for all the advertising and everything else that we do, it literally comes down to somebody told someone to go there, and that's
Right.
why they went. And we're going back to doing that, even just as from an advertising side, as we're really investing in kind of community engagement and going back to practitioners and restaurants and gyms and all of the places where our people
Right.
live. And it's like, let's work together. Like we'll talk about you and you can talk about us. And yeah, I mean, that's how people learn about products, right? Like they come into a health food store, there's a story that goes with it. I always think it
Yeah.
always comes back to write a story that someone shares with someone else. And those, like you said, those kind of I forget what the CHFA calls them, the wellness super shopper
Oh,
or something.
the super
Yeah.
consumer,
Yeah.
super shopper, super consumer.
Yeah, something
I
like
think.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Those guys are what is growing
Yeah.
your brand, right? Like they're the
Yeah.
ones
Right.
that are going to tell everyone they know, whether they like it or not, that they need this product. So
I
yeah,
think it's just
and I
something
think
incumbent on brands that you just have to force allocate some funds to this side. It's just I know, and I know it's tough. Listing fees are huge. Co-op
yeah,
dollars are huge.
yeah,
You're getting squeezed on price. Like it's shitty in mass. It really is. It's a tough gig.
yeah,
Volume's there for sure. We get it, but it's not easy. And then on this side, it's not easy either because you're thinking, Jesus Christ, these people want education, they want this, they want
yeah.
that, and
I
the
was
sales
asking.
just aren't as strong as they are on the other side. But I think to Phil's point, and exactly what you were saying too, but the story and the education and really that sort of grassroots understanding your product still
Yeah,
lies in sort of the
But
independence.
but I
It's
think
kind of
that's
where the world
where.
sits, right?
But Kenny, I think that's where I'm going to is I think if you're thinking about this as an ad spend, I think that there's another way around this is
Yeah.
this is where the if you're running out of ad spend because you got a big guy stepping on your neck, where typically brands have budgets and they have no idea how to get the money or how to utilize it is things like consumer research. So this is a great place for you to be able to take a like dust the cobwebs off a consumer research bucket that everyone goes, I'll wait till the last minute. I didn't have research. I'm going to scoop it and use it on a flyer. Well, no, right? Because
yeah,
you can use that bucket and turn it into something that health food stores can help you with,
mhm,
right? Because now it becomes something that you can derive from health food stores, and health food stores can turn that into a marketing initiative
Right.
that helps you build the business,
yeah,
right? Like it's a win-win for both sides, right? Because very few small medium brands have any insight whatsoever, right? Like they have nothing. They know what they know because they wander around and just collect things off social media. But this is a
yeah,
place to actually spend some money and help health food stores and also get insight back.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's also, I
Yeah.
mean, from my perspective anyway, really knowing what the vendor community really wants from us. Like,
Yeah.
there's lots of, I mean, a lot of health food stores have lots of data. So, ask, how's my
Yeah.
product doing? What's a basket look like that my product is in? Like,
Right.
what, type of consumer? And even better than that is spend time in the store and demo your product. Like, there's not, I agree health food retailers, also consumers of health food stores feel like I feel like they feel more open to express pleasure and displeasure.
They
So,
definitely have the ability
They're
to tell you how they feel.
pretty vocal.
right. So yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
like it's what better way to find out whether or not you're on track or not. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like the demo. I I feel like I'm always talking about demos with our staff because it felt to me like the quickest way to get back into something that was experiential for customers. And um, I was telling them like when Trader Joe's launched demos, I think it was probably around maybe American Thanksgiving last year, but it literally got national news coverage in the US. Like People Magazine, like Today Show, CNN, like you name it. I put them all up on the screen. I was like, guys, this is like people are so excited about this like free sample program at Trader Joe's. There must be something to this. Let's get demos going.
When that happened, my kids love Trader Joe's, right? Like we go to the
Everybody loves
US,
Trader
we've been
Joe's.
there. They like and like so like 15, 16, and 20.
Okay.
And they were like, can we go? Where's the closest Trader Joe's? Like, can we just drive there? And so, like, we want to go and taste the demos, right? And I was like, we're not. Yes, I
Because
want that too, but
yeah,
we're
it was
not
all
driving
over
to the US
TikTok, all
just to go
over
to Trader
Instagram.
Joe's, right? Like, it's not. But yeah,
But there's like something magical there. And it was
yeah, yeah.
like, okay, this like that's experience, right? Like they're just craving some sort of experience. They, and they have
Yeah.
cool products that they try, and they're nimble. They try stuff and
But
they
they
move.
try stuff. I think
They
that's the
try
difference.
Yeah.
They
stuff.
try stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what happens is, I mean, we've been in this industry a long time. Again, putting up the walls and talking about all the negative is important because I think you need to see it, but you can't stop there. And
Yeah.
our industry has had a propensity to stop at
Yeah.
times and say, and then they just piss and moan. You think, guys, okay, we understand that. We're all there.
Yeah.
We all get it. Now what though?
Yeah.
Like, and
Like
get
we
to the
were,
now what? Let's do something about it.
yeah. Like we were built on, like, I feel like we call it trailblazing. Like that's our industry. Like we plowed,
Absolutely.
the path. And so why would we stop doing that now? Like how do
Exactly.
that's why I want to get us all together and be like the
I
rally
think there's, I think there's,
cheerleaders
I
saying,
think there's value to it. And, I'm sure you've talked and we've talked to even the CHFA about it, is that
yeah,
these organizations were built to do that. And then over the years, they lost that too.
yeah,
They had, I mean, they just became something that you paid into and you got something back. You got a couple trade shows a year, which is fine, but
yeah,
it's not what it's designed to do. And it's not enough.
yeah,
You need more stuff. Like I love the fact that Aaron and his team are doing research,
yeah,
and they're
Yeah.
showing us things now. And you've got data for your industry, and
yeah,
you can't say you don't know anymore. You have it now.
yeah,
So how do we get together and use it together so we actually can grow this industry or
yeah,
protect it at least? At bare minimum, keep it as it is, but protect it.
yeah. I think that's it. I always kind of I summarize it as like we just need to know what winning looks like. Right.
Right.
And then we can rally kind of around what that is. And because I do think we need to celebrate those things. So like, what are those KPIs that show that we're winning?
Mhm.
Like of course, you know, the bottom line is the bottom line, but what are
Right.
the other pieces that are essential to a health food store thriving? Like, is it engagement with customers? Okay, like let's figure out a way as a group to measure that so that we can celebrate that with our staff and the industry as a whole. Like if it's lives changed, like let's figure out a way to celebrate that,
Right.
measure it and celebrate it, right? So yeah,
I
so that
actually
we're
really love that. I love your KPI idea because I think the other thing it does is, you know, as retailers, we get a little protective, right? Because vendors are all over the place. They show up, when th're not supposed to. They call you when you don't want them to call you, but they are really clever because they're all motivated by sales, right? And so if you had KPIs to be able to put out things to say, here's what winning looks like, and then here's where we're not winning, a clever brand will come to you and say, I figured it out, right? Like I
yeah,
spent the weekend thinking about it. I need incremental sales. You need incremental. You want to win here. Here's how I fit in that little puzzle piece to help
yeah,
you and me win.
yeah,
Right.
Right. Because I think that's the other thing that, like, on the brand side, they're always kind of good, but it's overwhelming for buyers, right? Or for retailers is when you get a couple of thousand eyes going, hi, what do you need? What do you, I got what you need. Like, go list my product. You're like, stop. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I think having those would really help.
yeah. I have one example of that working in a little bit
Yeah.
of way, but with Genuine Health, actually, I think their sales had started to really soften in our stores over the years. Staff turnover, don't really know the story.
Mm.
I'm like, I love Greens Plus, so everyone in my stores knows that, but I'm not enough. And, but they came to the table with like, hey, we want to do this campaign. It was at kind of nearing the end of COVID, where we're like, we just care about the customer. Like we want to greet them when they come in. We want to give them a bag with some freebies in it, offer them like a green drink, or I think they had coffee with collagen. It's free. And they were like, they understood like we were, dying to be able to engage again with customers. So they came to the table to say, like, we've got this idea that we can help you, do that. And at the same time, they kind of came in the back way and got a chance to sit down with all of our staff, tell their story. Stuart got to tell the story of why he started his company. And so it started to build that like love for the brand from the staff side. And also they came to the table with a solution to a problem in retail when we needed them. And their sales are continuously, going back up now. That it was just, yeah, it was
How amazing
exactly
is
what
that?
you're saying. Yeah.
Little effort.
Not
Little
even
effort, little
difficult, right?
focus.
Like but I think a willingness on both sides to say, let's try something. What's the worst that could happen? Like it is a little hard to try demos and give things to people during COVID, but let's try.
Well, there's ways around things. You just got to try to find the workaround, right? But you got to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just having a vendor and a retailer who actually want to partner, because it's an overused word and it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
Right. It's truly getting back to it does not always have to be adversarial. It doesn't always have to be, just adversarial. Like you have to work together. We kind of need each other.
Yeah. And the staff on the floor love it, right? If you can say,
Sure.
hey, we have this goal, that makes their day too, right? And then they also get to see at the end of it, like I did X, Y, and Z, and it resulted in this. Like yeah. So I think that understanding the KPIs and being able to report on them, it makes everybody accountable, but in a good way. And it allows us to celebrate things when we win. And also, I think maybe shift really quickly when something isn't working.
No, I agree.
What kind of KPIs? Like what kinds of things should we be kind of, tracking or like if you're thinking about what a scorecard might look like for retailers?
Yeah. I mean, my dream was always kind of like, that Staples button. I don't know what it says on it, but anyway, that red button. And it was like, how could you get that so that when someone's leaving the store, they could push that if they were like, I had an amazing experience today, right? Like that to me would be awesome. We have it because we have a customer care department. So like I said this, like they're called Do It Rights or Did It Right. Notes that come to us, we get the opposite ones too, but just like being able to say over the course of a year, like this is the number of, did it rights that came in. And so I think that's one KPI. I really strongly believe that our, at least for community natural foods, like our customers come to us because they care. They understand that the health of the planet is essential to wellness for everybody. And so figuring out some sort of sustainability goals and being able to measure those and tell people, I think is really important, whether it's reducing food waste, supporting and celebrating brands that are really looking into better packaging. I think organic and regenerative is huge, and being able to kind of just, set some benchmarks for yourself as a company and be able to measure against those. Because you know what, it's going to get all the staff involved. Because when it's something like that, and I think it's really, really essential to, like that next consumer, right? Like the Gen Z consumer, like, thank goodness they're coming along. I love that generation. I feel like they're the next health food hippie, the generation that started the health food movement is back.
They are. They're an enlightened bunch, right? They seek education. They test to make sure brands are genuine, right? Like
the authenticity of the whole thing comes back with this group.
Yeah,
like they don't like the bullshit, right? They don't like to be.
They're a much better shopper than this generation.
Yes,
absolutely.
Like
this generation was all about
right?
pretty packaging and
cool. I'll buy it. The commercial looked great, right?
Like, they had to. They were on TV. It's got to be true.
Yeah, so they got a big job to do, but I feel like they are like all in and ready.
They seem to be.
Yeah,
they do. They seem to have a different mindset, and it's probably because the world's not in the best position it's been in. And I think, what, they're trying to get us to focus a little bit more on it because anything's fixable, but we got to just start fixing it. Yeah. And I think they're the group that are saying the same, even in the food side or whatever, right? Is, all this crap you're putting into boxes and bags really isn't that good. We want you to put better stuff. And they're telling us what they want. And they're forcing you as a retailer and us as, brands or whatever to satisfy this need that that's there,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think it's super important. And, the staff that are coming into health food stores now are definitely pushing that as well, which is
Which
fantastic.
is awesome.
So it's definitely from the ground up,
Yeah.
that I think that you can figure out what those KPIs are when it comes to that sustainability piece. Yeah, I think understanding how many people you're actually engaging with, like when we talk about staff on the floor and we're struggling, right, to figure out what that staffing model needs to look like for a health food store as sales are down, how can you actually like figure out what true engagement was and what
Right.
and the kind of direct relation to sales, which is not something that we've been able to to crack yet, but is like a top. We have to do it. I mean, we have we have an ownership group that's like, hey, they've been fantastic. So Calgary Co-op, because they know there's something super special about community, and they don't quite know what it is. Like they'll say that we don't know
Right.
what it is. There's this. You guys have this weird staffing model. This like, you talk about caring for people and planet, and that's like the number one thing that you guys are doing. And they care about all that stuff too. It's just like generally not right at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And so they've been really good at saying like, we don't want to damage this thing, right? Like we don't want to pull something out that is actually what made it special. But I think we have a responsibility back to them to say, like, we can actually show that
Well,
this
it's
is,
still business. I mean, at the end of the day, this is still business, and business needs to be sustainable. Like you have to show a profit. You have to
yeah,
sell stuff. You have to make money. It's what
yeah,
sustains it for your staff and for your vendors and and ultimately for your ownership, right? It's part of it.
yeah,
But it's nice
yeah,
to see that's not getting lost just in the numbers, that there is a way to achieve a number that could be different than
yeah,
just selling a bunch of crap cheap,
yeah.
which Calgary Co-op, thank God, doesn't do either. Their stores are actually
We're pretty
they're a little
aligned, right?
different.
In so
Yeah,
many
they're
ways.
pretty
Like
cool.
they're a
Like seriously, they're not.
cooperative. Yeah,
Yeah, and I always worry about them too because they're just ripe to be picked by somebody. And then you look and think, oh shit, if that happens, then there's another independent
yeah,
that
yeah,
we lose, or we lose that entity, that field, because they're different. They're cool, right?
yeah,
I,
yeah. So
I
yeah,
think
so
there's another neat opportunity as well, as if you think of like the shopping habits that are changing a little bit right now, is we're all cherry picking deals. So the amount of driving from to and from different retail stores has increased, right?
it
And
absolutely
so
has. Yeah,
yeah, and I think that there's an opportunity, because that's one of these things where you kind of go, originally it's, a health food store is a destination, right? You go because you're seeking answers to problems, but somewhere in there between, kind of like brands looking for opportunities, there might be an opportunity for you to start driving, to add a location to a consumer who's already driving, right? Like I know, I was going to 2 outlets, now I go to 4 or 5.
yeah,
There is 100% a health food store along your route. Now you just need to add it. Do you know what I mean? Like I
yeah,
think that there's something in there that, collectively retail could figure out, like how do we do this? How do we embed that local store into your route so that it's
yeah.
not just a destination, it is part of your route, like you do the shop there as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think for so long. So we've seen that.
Yeah.
We've seen like the broader, I mean, Calgary Co-op would know that consumers are shopping more
Mm-hmm.
locations now, just in general in Calgary. But you know what? We've seen like a 10% increase in new members shopping with
Wow.
us this fiscal year. And we've definitely done more advertising to actually kind of do exactly what you're saying is let's at least remind people that we're a stop along the route.
Yeah.
We've also increased like promotional activity. For so long, we were all told, right, that don't worry about price, don't worry about price. That is so not the case anymore. So, like,
No.
figuring out a promotional strategy is really important, right? And reminding people of it. And yeah, so I think that more than anything, we're getting the increase in members because they're they're like, okay, I can at least stop in and buy X from you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they're seeing the value that's there.
yeah.
You just had to tell them that
The
it was there.
basket's smaller, so they're going more
Fine.
place. They're literally cherry picking you. But it's like, okay, if we can,
That
and
is
that's
okay.
why I am so hungry for like the demo experience and the event experience and all that in store. Because I'm
Right.
like, we have this like little chance to make it memorable. So let's do it. Like,
Right. I always
yeah.
tell people too, like deal doesn't mean you have to get down to Costco or superstore pricing. That's not what a deal is. Deal
Yeah.
means, talking to your vendor, see if you can get a little bit of a break, pass the break on.
Yeah.
Not
That's
rocket
exactly
science.
it.
All it is passing the break on. If you got a 10% reduction, throw it back to me on the other end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe your margin percentage might be a little less here and there, but you're still selling stuff. Like at the end of the day, it's money in the till.
Yeah.
That drives the day. It's not,
Well, and
your
yeah,
percentage.
I mean, maybe it's the marketing side going, my job is to get them to the door. But I'm like, once they're there, we have
Well, give me a compelling reason to stay there.
put something else in your basket. Just
Exactly.
Oh
one
my,
other thing,
but you know
Yeah.
what though? You have amazing staff, right? So pound for pound,
Yeah.
if
Or
you
you're
get
gonna kick the hell
100
out of
people
them.
into the store, oh my gosh, your staff, like,
You'll sell most of them, if not all of them.
you're gonna convert. Your conversion rates are
Absolutely.
probably so much
Have
higher
to
than
be.
everybody else's, right? Just because you have amazing staff, right? You just
Come
got to
on,
get them
Beth.
to the door, right? Like,
You know what happens if you go into
Yeah.
a big box. You're not going to find anybody. You're not even finding cashiers now because they've gone all to automation.
Yeah.
Like even
Yeah.
that part's lost. Right? I
Yeah,
mean, there's
no,
so
yeah.
much more that you can do in small independent grocery health food. Like you can. It's just the channel's just a cool channel.
Yeah.
We just got to
yeah,
stop the pissing and moaning and really
That's right. That's
focus
right.
on the wins. There's a lot of wins out. Again, you got to know the roadblocks. I'm all over it. But
Yeah.
knock them down then. That's half the fun of it.
So are we going to tell retailers that they need to come in? Where are you guys going to be set up at CHFA? Do you have are you in the,
No.
Ooh, we don't know. I mean, look for the podcast for sure. So this Commerce Life will be there. We're going to be podcasting from the show, and then I think we're going to be everywhere.
We have to
but
be selling.
yeah,
We have a product line too that we have to represent at the
yeah.
at the booth,
but you got to
at
wear
the show.
lots of hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, way too many hats.
It
And then
would
plus we're a
be-
retailer.
Yeah.
It would, yeah. We
wanna
wouldn't
shop
be
too.
we wouldn't be us if we weren't walking around trying to do 18,000 things all
No,
at the same
exactly.
time. Yeah.
That's half the fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Beth,
Well,
thank
I
you.
hope
You're
we
going to be
can
at the
meet
show,
in
right?
person.
You're
Yeah.
walking
yeah,
the show.
for sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Let's
We'll
Well,
find you or you find us. Like it'll be amazing. It'll
ping
be
us.
so
You have
fun.
all our deets on
Yeah.
on email.
Yeah.
Just ping us. I mean, my phone's always with me. His phone's always with him. So
Yeah.
that'd
awesome.
be cool.
Awesome. Beth, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming on. That was
This has been amazing.
fantastic. I mean, that was
Yeah.
really nice to have a chat with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you guys very much. And come see us. Come to Calgary. We'll
100%.
Those mountains are in the way.
I know, but they're so beautiful. So
I don't have any
They're-
mountains in the way. For me,
Is that right?
it's like I just need to get past a couple of hills in the Canadian Shields, and then it's all prairies, right? So it's all good.
Exactly.
So,
We're
All
just
right. Well,
terrible
for
in
now,
BC.
I look forward to meeting you guys in person.
So,
So,
likewise.
we love it.
awesome work. I've been enjoying the podcast. I've been
Oh, thanks, Beth.
kind of
appreciate
deep
that. Thank
diving
you.
on it. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beth,
All
have
right.
a great day. Phil,
Have a
stick
wonderful
around.
day.
yeah,
Okay.
you too.
Take
Bye,
care.
Beth.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
What a lovely lady.
Isn't that wonderful? See, that's
Yeah.
a nice way to start the morning.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to start the
Yeah.
morning. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
It's
out
very
there. There's a
cool.
lot of opportunity. What I
Yeah.
like about her, she does. It's always the same. It's so hard. I mean, this is where I wish we had just a little different landscape and a little more competition in this country. Because this is
But-
where you really see it. It was very difficult because when we talk about the brands wanting to participate and do things, when you are an important but a small part, brands will typically go to big ponds, right? And that's the shitty part.
But I think so I do think I actually feel more and more strongly after we started talking about this, but I think if you're a brand and you're listening to this, no disrespect, right? Like I think health food stores, because they're smaller accounts, they draw more junior folks, right? That's where you kind of have
Yeah.
folks cut their teeth. But I think that when you get down to it, somewhere along the way, you've got to get someone who understands those bits around consumer research and consumer marketing. You've got to get involved here, right? Because there is an opportunity for you to run consumer research in stores, pay some marketing dollars for consumer research, but that these health food stores can then turn into marketing and experiential dollars on the other end.
I agree.
If you don't know what that looks like, like paying us, I don't exactly know what it looks like, but I'm sure we could, between Kenny and I, we could figure
A lot
out
of
that
it,
idea
I
for
can figure.
you.
I know what I would like. I mean, I'm not a
Yeah,
health food store per se, but I'm a small independent
yeah,
grocer, and we do carry a
yeah,
lot of healthier things. We're
yeah,
not health food like Beth, but
yeah.
at the end of the day, I can tell you what we would love to
Right.
have out
Yeah.
of you. The problem sometimes, though, to what you said though, is it's even how independents and health food stores are treated. If that's where you cut your teeth, but the whole thing is to get in and get out fast. I think even as brands or well, brands, you've missed the sort of point is that you actually should send sometimes your more experienced people into there. I know the numbers come from mass. I'm not stupid. I get it.
Yeah.
But those numbers are typically, it's a lot of paperwork numbers.
Yeah.
If you really want to know, to your point, we said in the podcast, but how your brand is doing, come to the independents and the health food. They'll tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
They'll tell you why it's not selling.
Yeah. And I
Right?
think that's
In their
like
stores. Now, it may
yeah.
be selling in the others, but I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you, just so we're all clear, it's going to catch up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
These things have a tendency to go up and down,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
if the independents and the little guys aren't selling because it's either too expensive in their stores, which means you're blowing your brains out of mass, that's not long-term sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If the independents are telling, listen, we get a lot of people that just come back and there's taste issues, it's going to catch you on the other side too. The sales will stop.
100%. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Anyway, I think if you're wondering or you're thinking about how to partner with these guys, right? Because there are going to be a bunch of brands that will go, no, it's not true. We love these guys, but we don't necessarily. This is an opening point. I think there are some things here that you could do along those lines that start to help the stores, but also help
Exactly.
you in the process.
Exactly.
That's all. An
Very
idea
cool.
starter.
Idea starters.
Ah.
I like those.
We are like an hour 10 into this.
Yeah, we lost everybody.
If you're still around, thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Take care.